So sorry, you wanted to...
Your arrangement's beautiful.
Thanks, man.
You know, I'm going to defer to my friend.
Okay.
Who
You're gonna
is
drive this.
more knowledgeable.
Yeah. You're gonna drive this train wreck.
Okay. I've been reading his biography, and much of the biography, in fact, I think one whole chapter is dedicated to the harp guitar.
Oh, cool.
About Hedges. I think you read an early version of that chapter even.
I did read, yeah, I mean, whatever you sent, I read.
Cool.
Yeah. Nice.
So maybe the best place to start is just tell us about you discovering the harp guitar, getting into it, and what that's meant to you, and some of those kind of thoughts. Just give us your
Sure. My introduction to harp guitar. Yeah. Well, so this is Big Mama, as I said, and that's the name that it came with, that she came with. But this was my great grandfather's instrument, and it's from 1909. That's 116 years ago now. And my great grandfather, he was actually the maternal side, so it was my mother's. It's who she knew as her grandfather. It was actually my grandmother's second husband. They were married for 50 years, so it's who my mom knew as her grandfather. So it was not a blood relation to me. It's who my mom knew as her grandfather. My great grandfather then. This was his instrument, and he played it supposedly in the Yukon during the gold rush. He was up there, I guess. I don't know. There's a show on. There was a show called the Hoot Owl Radio Hour that was on KGW, which is a station still there in Portland, Oregon, and that was a station that, like WSM, is the one out of Nashville, right, where the Grand Ole Opry was on. Like, it just had a really wide range. It was picked up. So there's a show called the Hoot Owl Radio Hour on Friday nights, and family lore has it that there's nothing to prove it, but family lore is that my great grandfather was on that show. I don't know if it was once, a few times, or regular. Mel Blanc, the voice of the many classic cartoon characters, was a regular on the show.
Cool.
So it was a variety show with comedy, music, and whatever. So I don't know if this instrument appeared, but it's very possible this instrument was on a radio show with Mel Blanc standing right nearby. It's entirely possible. I don't know for sure.
Even just the image of that instrument being played in a gold rush setting is
it's just wild. Yeah. And I knew it existed. My great grandfather died in 1968. That was in Oregon. I was born in Oregon, but my parents moved us east before I was 2 years old. So I didn't really know my relatives in Oregon. We barely got back. We got back twice for like a week visit when I was a kid. So I do remember hearing him play. I know that it happened, that he played a few songs. I barely can remember. I would have been, it was probably in 1965, so I would have been 9 years old. So I just had a vague recollection. But he died in 1968, and I had this photograph my mother had this photograph of this instrument that I carried around for years in my guitar cases, and I just knew it was the coolest thing, and someday I had to see it. And so it was like 1988 that my mom was going back to Portland to see her mom, my grandmother, who was in the hospital ill, and so I went. I went from Virginia, she went from New York State. We met there, And so I was just being supportive of my mom. And so I wound up staying at my uncle's house, my Uncle Harp. And this instrument had been in the basement of his house for some years, just after my great-grandfather died.
Yeah.
And so we went down in the basement and brought it up, and I sat on the couch in the living room with this thing in my hands that I had a picture of for years, and I just started noodling around on it. I didn't know how to tune it or anything. I just started noodling around with it. My uncle said, "This should be yours." And so he checked with, his sisters, my Aunt Lou and my mom. They all agreed, and so it was mine. And so 1988, this became my instrument.
1988.
What a great story.
And I was I was making a living as a guitar player at that point. I already had a couple of recordings out. But now I had this thing, and so I just had to figure out what to do with it. And so I just started, playing. I just started working out things. And, I started just arranging tunes and, pop tunes and folk tunes and whatever, and started writing tunes right away.
Wow.
And so...
And I mean, you've got to be the most prolific harp guitarist in modern...
I'm sure.
Last half century or more?
Yeah.
Maybe century?
Yeah. I think definitely prolific, yeah, for sure. I mean, I've got 2 double CDs that are just harp guitar, and a whole bunch of other
Beatles
harp guitar stuff.
and
Tons of covers on Beatles and other things. Yeah. So I've got a lot of music out that's recorded on harp guitar.
I love it too. By the way.
Thank you very, very much.
Fantastic.
And it's just been great because it's just open. It's got so many. It's just a new dimension. It's these subs just open up all kinds of possibilities.
Yeah.
We were just talking about Whiter Shade of Pale before. I mean, right there. I mean, the tuning. Well, how did you tune it? And so, I didn't know how to tune it. And a lot of people will go straight down here. It's like if that's an E, they tune that to a D. It's going down. That's great. I didn't really know what anybody did at the time when I got this because I didn't know anybody else that played the instrument. And I just thought, what do I want? It's wide open. I figured it was just wide open. What do I want? And I wanted to have that note as a sub bass. So I gave that to myself. So I had that as a G. So, there's God's C major right there. And, so Andy actually, I think still to this day, he goes with that. That's called Bennett tuning. I didn't name it, but everybody, including myself, vary things from time to time. But that's my default. That's a G, because I loved that. And then I'm dropping to D, C, B, A, and for the longest time I had another G octave way down low there. Did that for a while, wrote a lot of tunes that way, made a lot of arrangements that way, and then I decided I didn't want to do that anymore because I didn't want the stress of on the instrument. And so my default there it is, became E.
Okay.
Yeah, an octave lower than that for the longest time. And so but I always was, now I just got E up to an F. So if I want to just play a little bit of this. And so on. I just love that.
That's beautiful. And you have to have that note.
You have to have that note. Yeah. I mean, you could play it on 6-string and stuff, but it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be there. And the other thing I learned early on that I loved, I'll take that back to an E, or an E-ish sort of thing. Okay, it's just that this thing. Yeah, I mean, they're sympathetic vibrations. I mean, they're very sympathetic. They feel your pain. empathetic vibrations. Or that's always going on. I mean, I was sitting one day doing this. I hit this chord. Holy shit! What is that? And a tune started. These guys. They put together. They like put together multiple reverb pedals and stuff to get these magical sounds. Sometimes, and it's like I'm getting that with this. That's pretty deep in the cave.
Yeah.
So it's just happening with this instrument. So I just fell in love with harp guitar. Early on, as soon as I had it.
So you can plug that in, though, right?
Oh yeah. It's got it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It sounds beautiful. Would you honor us with a tune?
Sure, I'll go ahead and play that tune for you. That's called. I was looking actually when I had in front of me. I don't know if it was National Geographic, whatever it was, but it was images from the Hubble telescope, and it was I think it's the Helix Nebula that they call the astronomers call the Eye of God. This have you ever seen that image? Just look up the Eye of God Hubble. Search that.
Yeah.
And I think it's the Helix Nebula. I was actually at I was playing a house concert in Maryland a bunch of years ago, and in the audience, turned out, was a woman who worked for NASA, and from her desk she would direct Hubble which way it would turn to photograph and stuff. And what she told me was that actually the day that the photographs were taken of what they would dub the Eye of God, they weren't looking for anything. They were actually they knew that they were getting near some debris, some debris field, and they wanted to turn the lens away from it so as not to risk injury to it. And so they just pointed it to some, I guess, I don't remember if it was just random or whatever, but wherever they pointed to, that you got the Helix. I'll play that tune.
Beautiful.
So like this, you've heard the beginning, it's not familiar.
That was really nice.
Thanks, guys.
So beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
This has got to be a dyer.
This is.
Okay.
This is a dyer, yeah.
With a curly, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you have work done on it when you took it from your uncle's house? What, did it go right to a luthier? Or?
Hold that thought. I'll get that in just a moment.
Okay.
Which, of course, means Dyer meant it was made by the Larson brothers.
Yeah,
Right. Gotcha. The Dyer brothers were a chain of music stores that put their name on them. So, when I got it, when I got shipped back to Virginia where I lived, I had the neck reset mostly because I couldn't believe that it didn't need to be reset. So that was done. I'm glad I did it, but it really was not showing it. I just felt like this was not a bad thing to do, because the instrument had been neglected really for like 20 years. It really, other than once when one of my brothers had been to Oregon visiting as a kid, he and a cousin had like gotten their hands on this guitar and they'd taken it out to a park and stuff. But other than that, that's like the only time it had been touched. It was like one day, and other than that, it was either still on the Oregon coast where my great grandmother lived on for a while. In fact, I could tell you a story about that too, or in my uncle's basement where it ultimately was when I found it. When I moved to, I think it was right after I moved from Virginia to Connecticut. And it's probably like 14 years ago. I was playing in Vermont, and I was playing a tune called Sea Rose Beach, which is the spot on the Oregon coast where this lived for a long time. And so, and somebody called out from the audience, "Is it near Yachats?" Yachats. It's a town on the Oregon coast. I said, yes, it's just south of Yachats. He said, in 1972, I was replacing the cedar shakes on the cedar side, like the little shakes, right? On your great grandmother's house. And I saw this instrument through the window.
Oh my God.
And I tried to talk her out of it as partial payment for my work. Yeah. And so on a break, I called my Uncle Don in Oregon, who the house wound up being theirs. It went going to my Aunt Lou and Uncle Don, and I put him on this guy on the phone with my Uncle Don, and they yacked for a little bit, and then the guy handed the phone back to me. My Uncle Don said, "Oh, Audrey, my great grandmother, she was always talking about her hippie carpenter Dave." That was hippie carpenter Dave.
Oh, wow.
And that almost, it came that close to the course of my history, if not human history.
Would it change your timeline?
Yeah, exactly. It changed timelines. Yeah. So isn't that bizarre?
Yeah, that is so bizarre. Wow.
Yeah. So here I am, 3,000 miles away in Vermont, and somebody remembers seeing this instrument in 1972.
That's a great story. I love that.
Yeah, you can't make that shit up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't be swearing on here. Sorry.
No, please.
They get credit for confessing at least.
Right, that's it.
I'm curious because the first time I ever heard harp guitar, I had this place in Palo Alto called the New Varsity Theater Restaurant Bar, and this guy Michael Hedges was playing there a lot, and he was the first one to bring one of these in, and I think Jake was the first one. I started reading the biography. He has made it very clear that the Dyers were made by these brothers.
Larson brothers.
But is that the first instrument that Hedges had? The first harp was one of those?
Was a Dyer.
Similar, right? Just kind of blonde or something.
5 subs, as I recall.
Yeah.
Sub basses rather than 6.
Although his model had a hole drilled out, but when he bought it, it just had the 5. So he started composing with 5.
Right.
And then in the last year or two of his life,
he went back to 6.
He added. Well, he had it for one song.
Oh, really?
In fact, even within the same set, they would take that string off because it would screw him up.
Visually, yeah. See, that's why I hate when somebody hands me one of the 5-string ones. It's just visually, it's just totally messes me up because nobody ever does this one. So it's it's called a sub-entrant when the string, a lower string physically is higher pitched than the one. They call it a sub-entrant string. So that's because that. equals that. So that's never the case with the 5-string ones. They just go down typically. And so it just throws, the visuals are just, I understand completely. In fact, I love that that's the case, that he did that, because it means I'm not the only neurotic one.
Yeah. Your hand gets used to references.
Yeah, right, exactly.
In multiple ways, right?
In multiple ways, that's exactly what it is. And yeah, it's but I love hearing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love hearing
Yeah, it was for Pink Floyd's Comfortably Numb.
Oh, that's what he would.
Yeah, during the break, he would have his tech put that extra one on there, so he could get the low string. But yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you're a couple years younger than Hedges. Did you run into him?
Never ran into him. No. How old? When was he born?
53.
Okay, so I was born in 56. Yeah, so you're right. So yeah, I'm 69 years old now.
73.
Yeah, I never met Michael. I was made aware of him right about the same time as this, because I think Aerial Boundaries came out in 88?
84.
Oh, sorry, 84.
But there's no harp guitar on Aerial Boundaries.
Right. Okay, so when did
So his first recording, he started playing it around 84.
Okay.
But it wasn't till 87 when Live on the Double Planet, that was his first entrance into the harp guitar recording.
Right. Okay, right. So right about when in 88 when I got this, somebody handed me a copy of Aerial Boundaries. And so that was my first exposure to him. I'd seen, hearing him, I'd seen, because there'd been, he was photographed with these things a lot, and made cover of like frets or whatever and stuff. So it's like I'd seen those, but I just hadn't heard him yet. So, but and so that's how it was my introduction to Michael Hedges was Aerial Boundaries, and I just I was like everybody else. It knocked me out. And I spent, a little bit of time trying to figure out one or some. I didn't remember which one it was, but I never got it, and I just went. I sort of generally don't listen to guitar music to begin with. I mean, I really don't. I mean, oddly, I often don't listen to music at all because I just sit around and play so much so I didn't. I didn't get. Like I said, I didn't figure out what he was doing, like so many of these guys have, and that's more power to him. I just went on with my own stuff.
Yeah. Your own voice.
Yeah, I just figured it's not really, it's just like after a certain point. I mean, I had done hard deep dives into Leo Kottke, because when I first heard him, that just blew me away. And so I'd spent some time figuring out Kottke tunes, and I had a Doc Watson phase, and
I had Hedges over for Doc Watson at my place.
Oh, okay, cool, very cool, yeah. So, but at that point, it's like I was putting out recordings at this point. So, 88, my first recording came out. So,
has it always been harp guitar?
No. The first recording did not have any harp guitar. The first recording was done because in '87 I won the flat picking championship at Winfield, the National Flat Picking Championship. It's bluegrass style playing. Even though I was never in a bluegrass band, I just loved that style of guitar playing, and I was really good at it for a while. But no, I had just got this instrument in '88, so it wasn't until I guess '89 I did a cassette only with a guy, multi-instrumentalist from Virginia named Bill Gurley, who I did several records with, where I recorded harp guitar for the first time. And we did, some like folk tunes, like Westphalia Waltz, where he would play mandolin and I played harp guitar and stuff, things like that. And then we had some original tunes that we read. So I started to write, and too. But as a result, and I think I told you about this before when we corresponded before, as a result of Hedges, and just sort of thinking about hands working a little differently than sort of traditional fingerstyle playing, which was kind of what Michael was known for. He just said, "Hey, this is like, who's this guy from another planet?"
Yeah, right.
Because it's just a different approach. It led me to my own tune, which was called Perestroika. which was a tune that was very, very good to me. I mean, it got me onto the invitation to be on Narada's, that label's, fingerstyle. That was it. It was just called Guitar, Fingerstyle. That was the title of the album.
That's the first time I heard you.
Yeah, and Perestroika was on there.
Yeah.
And so, that was great. So it was the first tune that I had that went out into international distribution. And I was actually making money. I was getting checks. Yes, you can make money from songs. This was a new concept. Very good to me because, some years later, so that album came out in '96. And then there was a Narada thing in '97 that it was on me, Master's Acoustic Guitar. Somebody referenced it. I think, I forget. Referenced it last night, that album. And then there was a guitar Fingerstyle 2. And that they picked me for all three of those, and it was always harp guitar. So that was great. So the other thing was, so '96, that guitar Fingerstyle comes out, goes into worldwide distribution, as I said. And so I also get invited to perform at the Chet Atkins Appreciation Society Convention in Nashville. So I go there in '97. I meet Tommy Emmanuel for the first time. And so the big deal is, it's a delight and an honor to be invited to perform there, and then you don't get paid, but they cover your room and give you some expense money and stuff. And you got a great audience. And so the big thing is if you get on the Saturday night show, they open up to the double ballroom of the Nashville Sheraton. And so Chet Atkins would be in the front row, and there's all these notables and stuff that would be in the audience, as well as just a packed house. And so, I'm walking down the hallway, and Mark Pritchard, he's a doctor, and he's also the organizer of that thing. He said, if you wanted to play Perestroika, you could be on the Saturday night show. Saturday night concert. I said, I'll play Perestroika. And so I did, and it was great. And Chet was in the front row, so and I finished playing the song, and I stepped down, and I walked over to Chet just to shake his hands. So I'm walking back, to backstage, and Muriel Anderson goes, psst. And I lean down, and she says, "Be backstage at the Ryman tomorrow. If you want to play Perestroika, you could be on All-Star Guitar Night." I said, "I'll play Perestroika," and I'll be at the Ryman. So I got to, I got to be at the, I got to play the Ryman, just because of this song, and that was a direct. That song came about. I mean, I'm not gonna play the whole song, but now I had a drop D, even though I have a D, but that still is good because it's like that gives you some advantages to it. Hedges, but you could see where it's related.
Yeah, sure.
I think, right?
Yeah. There's an integration of fingerstyle with
some other stuff.
And some, a rhythmic element there.
Yeah,
that's underneath it.
Yeah, and that came out of that was a direct influence of Michael Hedges, because, like I said, I mean, I listened to that, that Aerial Boundaries cassette that somebody handed me, and I was blown away by it. But just as a matter of course, I didn't spend a lot of time listening to other guitar players because that's not going to get me anywhere.
But that's Stephen Bennett.
But that flows. But again, that flows out of
inspired
into my head. In some way, it's a bit of Michael Hedges' influence in there. So I consider myself influenced in that way.
That's such a cool song.
Thank you very much. So the other thing is, Pat Donahue, Pat.
Yeah.
So I met Pat the very first time I went to Winfield in 1983. And he was camped right next to me, and I got second in the flat picking championship there, and he won the fingerstyle. And, went on to become Prairie Home Guitar Prairie Home Companions guitarist for more than 20 years. So, but we've been friends since 1983. So I got on Prairie Home Companion, and
Sweet.
they wanted me to play Prairie Strike Out. So it's like, okay.
So I heard you won both championships at some point.
Yeah, last year, the 80s were very good to me. I went out in 83. I took home prize guitars in 83, 5, and 7. I got second and first in the flat picking, and I placed third in the fingerstyle. And Andy McKee and I would always joke. I think he said, he's the one who first said it, but we kept it alive for a long time. It's like, cool guys get third, because that's what he got, at Winfield when he was there. But anyway, so I wound up, I wound up starting getting booked at Winfield on a regular basis. And when I was booked, I was typically judging the contest. If you're a paid performer there, you can't be in the contest, obviously. And I was also judging, so I can't be in the contest. It's stupid. But I just would, watch this. Friends of mine would be winning it and stuff, and over the years, and I entered one other time when I wasn't booked to play there. I don't know, 93 or something like that. And I played like crap. I didn't deserve to win anything. I deserved a kick in the ass. But then, so last year, like in June, the festival is always the third weekend of September. So in June, I thought, it just popped into my head, I think I'm eligible to compete. I've always wanted to win this thing. I always thought I could if I was having a good day. And so I sent a text to my wife, who she was out of town or something, and I floated it, and she said, I was wondering why you don't do that. And so I checked with the festival. I said, is there any objection to my competing? They said, you're totally eligible to compete. So I decided to compete. And and like 20 some years ago, they turned it into the International Fingerstyle Championship too. So, I mean, I had actually been, there are a couple of countries like Australia and Japan that the winners of their national championships automatically have a place in Winfield. Like, it's limited to like 40 or 50 players. It's been different numbers over the years. And there was one year where I was playing in Australia at a festival, and where I was judging the contest there. And I flew from there to Japan, and I was playing some shows there, and I judged their national contest. Both of those people who were eligible then to be, have places at Winfield for the international championship. And then in September of that year, I was back at Winfield judging that one. So it was really, anyway, that's just an aside. It was just kind of fun. I forgot where I was going.
Well, and then you.
Last year. Yeah. Right, exactly. Thank you. Yeah, and so I decided that I was going to enter last year, and so I just started practicing. I started focusing because I was 68 years old then, and it's just not as easy to focus as it maybe was 20 years ago. I did it. I went there and I won, and what was really fun. I mean, I didn't go for they changed it. Like nowadays, it's not just your choice of these three guitars, that you pick the one you want. Second place would pick the next two, right? Yeah. That sort of thing. They also give you a check for $3,000 and a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's like, I didn't do it for any of that. I wanted the trophy.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted was the trophy. And the most fun thing, second most fun thing, other than just getting it off my bucket list, right, was that the second place guy was a guy from Oregon who was 34 years old, which is my son's age, and it's exactly half of 68. Like, can you say whippersnapper?
Yeah.
It's like,
old dogs have new tricks.
I've always wondered how that happens. When my son was born, when he was
right, the math changes, right?
years old, I was 37, but when he was 35, I was 70. Like, how does that?
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, because there are three kinds of people in the world: those who understand math and those who don't. It's my favorite joke.
Exactly.
So, do you tour still? What do you do?
No, I don't. I don't tour. I did tour a whole bunch, but I really like being home.
Yeah, me too.
I really like being home. I like sleeping in my own bed, and I really dislike getting on airplanes with multiple guitars. And it's. I also know myself. It's really hard. I had no interest in being out on the road on a regular basis, right? And so when you're out on the road on a regular basis, your repertoire stays fresh. I mean, it stays smooth. It stays in your fingers. It's there. It gets better as you go on, right? It stays sharp. So it's a different. That's a good thing, but I have no interest in that because I don't want to be away from home that much. So that means that it's really harder to do shows now because the repertoire is not as easy to maintain. It means you have to play the same things over and over if you want to maintain. And I don't like doing that because I'm always writing new tunes and arrangements or whatever. And so I would rather stay home and keep writing and recording and putting music out that way and doing shows here and there, where I can drive for the most part. I mean, I flew out here because it's too far to drive from, Connecticut.
Yeah.
For now.
I have one thought that I want to say to you, though, because and that is that so I started a convention, as you know, for harp guitars specifically in 2003. I wasn't starting a convention in 2003. I just thought it'd be fun for the people I knew that played, built, or had a great interest of one sort or another. Or in the case of the Hartmans, Bob and Carol Hartman, Bob was the grand. One of his was his grandfather, or was his son? With the Larsons. Yeah, I forgot the direct. Yeah. So if they would like to get together in Williamsburg, Virginia, for a weekend and just for all things harp guitar, and they all said yes. So that was the first harp guitar gathering, which that's all I thought about. But when it was over, everybody. Andy McKee was at that first one. Muriel was there that first one.
Yeah.
Was Callum at the last one?
Callum was at the last one.
So it is the same festival that I heard about.
Yep. That was the 22nd harp guitar gathering. So they really, when it was over, everybody wanted to do it again, and so it's been going on ever since. So Travis Bowman, great player,
Facebook friend,
right, and harp guitarist. He's hosting this year's in North Little Rock. McKee is hosting next year's gathering, and we're going to rent Independence Hall, where because Michael recorded, was it because it's there? I think there?
Probably from Live on the Double Planet.
Yeah, that's why Andy wants to that's why he wanted to do that.
That's perfect.
You got to get a harp guitar researcher come and talk to everybody at something like that.
Yeah. So so the thing is that not only did I start that, but I of course would have invited Michael. To this thing he passed in what year again?
97.
So he's gone 6 years before I started this. Wow, that's
he would have been there all over it too.
Well, I don't know because I didn't know him, but I would hope. It's great. I'm glad to hear that because obviously it was everybody was, many people were if not everybody was aware of him and his harp guitar stuff. So and I certainly I would have wanted to feature him and have him there and have him be part of our community, and hopefully. It seemed like he had a sense of humor and was a good guy.
Yeah. He would have loved that. He would have totally been there.
Then that's another loss. Part of the loss.
Meant a lot to him.
Yeah. So.
And he liked being in that kind of community. He gravitated toward that. He didn't have a competitive bone in his body as far as.
That's great.
He was just like, dude, we're all just having a good time.
I know. That's the way I feel about it. Yeah. So that's wonderful. So I'm really glad to hear that because. That you guys knew him, so that's great.
He's got wonderful access from Misha Hedges, the son, to the studio, to Michael's studio, and in fact was there one day and he's looking at the guitar collection, which is extensive, still sitting in the studio, and there was Michael's D28, and Misha said, "Go ahead, take it out," nicknamed Barbara, and Jake pulls it out and he strums it. it had been in the accident, but the tuning wasn't so far off from the only song that Michael did in
that
this
tuning?
tuning.
Really?
And he knew the tune, Arrowhead,
Oh,
and
wow.
started playing it for Misha and Mindy. He tuned it up a little bit, but
You made him cry, I bet.
emotional,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It was,
Maybe yourself too.
Yeah, it was a really magical moment. I mean, it was almost perfectly in tune. It was in the wreck with him. It hadn't been out of its case, and I played down and went, oh my gosh, that's Arrowhead. Just started playing, and it was just like, that's the last song he played on that guitar, you know. And here I'm playing it for his wife and
That's
son
awesome.
in his studio. I mean, yeah, it was amazing.
That's a magic moment.
It really was. And then they handed me his harp guitar, and I'd been studying because it's there, and so I was playing a few licks on that.
So he plays
too.
these
Yeah.
a bit too. Do you have one?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
What do you have?
I've got a, it's a carbon fiber.
Emerald?
Yeah, emerald.
Yeah.
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 Six.
What's his name? What's the guy's name?
Irish.
Yeah, I forget his first name.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's been to the gathering a few times.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
We always have, Luthiers. We have a Luthiers Forum every year.
I've wanted to come for years, so
Where do you live? In California?
I'm in Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City. Okay. Well, it's a pleasure to actually meet you in person and to meet you.
Likewise.
Yeah, so thanks, guys.
Yeah, it's an honor.
Time, because Tommy and Manny and I became good friends, and we wound up touring together a bunch over the years. And so my mom was at a show and heard Tommy and I playing together, and so she just was blown away by him, just like everybody else is when they hear him. But she just said after the show, she said, "Thank God for the harp guitar." Because we would do a lot of duets where I would play harp guitar and Tommy was playing, what Tommy's doing, what Tommy does. And it was they were lovely duets because you know how beautiful he could play. And I mean, he could play manically as well, but he was playing beautiful and just with harp guitar, it was just, he loved it. I did a gag a few times where I had this harp mandolin. Didn't even have any extra subs. It was a Larson Brothers one, as well. And we did this at Cass, the Chet Atkins thing, one year where it was my set and he was up next, so he was off to the side there. And the harp mandolin was on the stage floor, just out of sight. And so it was time for me to invite him up and play something together. And I said, well, Tommy Manuel, my buddy, I've got to get him up here. As you all know, he's this brilliant guitar player. But I got to tell you, a lousy harp guitar player. But it's because he didn't have one yet. So I've got him, he's going to come up, and I've got him a little starter instrument here. I pick it up, it's like this big. It doesn't even have any extra strings on it, but it's got the art, that the hollow arm, as they call it. And you just could play it like a mandolin anyway. There's no extra strings, so it's just a mandolin. But the joke is just,
that's great.